I'm recording. I'm closing my camera and we're still using Franken and Wallen and Yoon's How to Design and Evaluate Research in Education. And we're now looking at quantitative research designs or methodologies. It's very important to take note that quantitative and qualitative research are two different animals. And yet, also at the same time, the beauty of quantitative research is its ability to basically manage variables or things that are that we want to study on matters of control and predictability. Only quantitative research is able to do that. In quantitative research, the gold standard remains to be experimental research. As we were all raised in the experimental research modality in the natural sciences curriculum in basic education. But if we start talking about the experimental research, what we need to understand are first, we need to see what the purpose of an experimental research is. And specifically, we see experimental research whenever we are looking at notions that evaluates effectivity. Many students use effectivity a lot in their titles without recognizing that the term effectivity almost already lends to an experimental research design, which means therefore that as long as you put effectivity there in your title, that will be more or less that will more or less follow an experimental research design. The only way you can determine whether one program, policy, or intervention is effective is by comparing it with another group. That's the only way. So then we will describe the basic steps that are involved in the experimental process. We will look at also two ways in which experimental research differs from other forms of educational research, explain the difference between random assignment and random selection, explain what is meant by the phrase manipulation of variables. How can we manipulate variables? Distinguish between weak and strong experimental research designs, identify various threats to internal validity, explain three ways that we can address internal validity, uh, explain how matching can be used to equate groups, describe briefly the purpose of factorial and counterbalance designs, describe the purpose of time series, and describe briefly how to assess probable threats. This also includes recognize an experimental study when you see one in literature. So you have to understand that experimental research design remains to be the gold standard. That I didn't fail to emphasize, which means that it remains to be one of the most powerful research methodologies that are often used. In fact, this is a research design that best establishes what we will call eventually as the cause and effect model. If I wanted to see cause and effect between and among variables, the best way is actually by means of the experimental research design. However, later on, we will see that causal comparative can also do the same, although it's already quasi-experimental, which means, therefore, that at the end of the day, experimental research is still the most relevant and the most applicable along those lines. Now, when we look at experimental research, we need to play with three types of variables, which you might be hearing already in the research studies that you have in the long run. The independent variable, the variable that can stand on its own. And when we start talking about the independent variable, there are actually two types of independent variable, the controlled variable and the experimental or treatment variable. I'm sure you're familiar with the controlled setup and the experimental setup in scientific research. And the controlled setup and the experimental setup both refers to the independent variable. The dependent variable is the criteria that is evaluated to see if there's a change brought about by the intervention. No? So for example, I wanted to see if the grades of students in section A will differ from the grades of students in section B when all things being equal, the only difference between A and B, sections A and B, is how this course was taught in A and how this course is different from B, like that. So you'd see that grades along those lines is the external criterion. That's the dependent variable. It's dependent on the independent variable. That's what it simply means, no? The relationship is one is dependent, the other one is independent. The other one can stand on its own. The other one is dependent on that which can stand on its own, no? That's how dependent and independent variables are briefly put. Now, of course, you also need to distinguish the types of things that can be manipulated in the independent variable, but we can set that aside for the meantime. So when you look at these examples of titles, the titles are actually indicative of a type of research, and in this case, experimental research. Look, the effect of small classes on instruction, the effect of early reading instruction on growth rates, the use of intensive mentoring to help beginning teachers develop balanced instruction, the effect of lotteries on web survey response rates, introduction of a course on bullying into pre-service teacher training curriculum, using social stories to enhance the interpersonal conflict resolution skills of children with learning disabilities, or improving the self-concept of students through the use of guided meditation and hypnosis. So if you'd see the first sets of questions, the first sets are actually effect, effect, effect. The second one is actually a suggestion, an answer. So for example, the introduction of a course on bullying, the use of social stories, and the improvement of self-concepts. Please mute yourselves. So you see already that upon careful examination of these titles, you see the concept of effectiveness, just as I said, is found in the first one. The second one is about interventions, about uh, a specific problem. But remember, you can only suggest the intervention if the interventions were proven. Now, let's look at some of the essential characteristics of the experimental research. The very first thing you have to understand is that in experimental research, at least two conditions or methods are compared to assess the effects of the particular conditions. That's the very first thing you have to understand. Like, if I wanted to test a new HIV drug, I need to create a group of people with similar characteristics and give them the drug I wanted to test. But I also need to test those with the similar characteristics as the first group, but give them the regular treatment protocol for HIV. And in the end, if the group from A, where I tested the new drug with, will show a better progression in the prognosis in the treatment, eventually they will be considered then I can argue that this is more effective than B, something like that. So I always compare. In an experimental research, I always compare. Compare the traditional modes with the new mode, compare traditional modes together, compare new modes together. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is in an experimental setup, I compare things. The second thing is that the independent variable, so the population that I'm working with, is directly manipulated by the researcher, which means basically that I insert the intervention almost immediately to that group. So that there you'd see why this is a very important setup. I directly manipulate. So I compare and I manipulate. That's the two very important characteristics of experimental research. Now, an experimental research will have a control group and an experimental group. Okay, these are the two groups that we're talking about. And you're basically familiar with a controlled group and an experimental group. As we said, a manipulation happened in the independent variable, which means simply that the researcher deliberately, directly determines what forms the variable will take and then which group will get which from. Malinaw dapat sa akin ano yung gusto kong gawin at ano yung gusto kong baguhin. Remember also that because this is quantitative research, the rules of randomization plays a very important role, which means therefore that I need to randomly assign or randomly select participants in the study. I cannot purposively, conveniently select people to join in cluster A and cluster B. That's not possible. I need to, whether I like it or not, choose people with similar characteristics and then randomly assign or select them to the group. The randomized process is important in quantitative research as it is not that important in qualitative research. Please take note of that. If you do not randomize the process, the findings and the study will not be valid and will not be reliable. I'm telling you already. It's kayang sirain agad. So, how do we how do we control other variables? Like human persons are not just human persons. We have gender, we have socioeconomic status, we have we have culture, we have other variables that can affect our responses to certain manipulations. For example, even if we choose an all-male, same age group, as two classes that we will study, you need to understand that ethnographic and socioeconomic variables can still play a huge role in determining how the students will react to particular variables. So, Franken and Wallen suggested a few things. One, if it's randomized, everybody was given the equal opportunity to be chosen, then the group will be equivalent. That's the first thing. Second, we can hold certain variables constant, like the only people that will join the group are those with ages 17. We can also build build the variable into the design. Like for example, I only choose male 16 years old coming from the poverty threshold. Or matching, if I can find this variable in one group, I can also find it in another group. Or you can use the subjects as their own control, or simply analysis of covariance will play a very important role. This is already a statistical test. Now, let's look at the designs of an experiment. No? There are basically poor designs. We call it poor designs because they are weak. No, they are weak designs. Let's look at some of them. So first is the one-shot case study. In the one-shot case study, a single group is exposed to a treatment or event and a dependent variable is subsequently observed to assess the effect of the measurement. For example, I there's one person, I treat his colds with acupuncture and then I observe. The problem with that case is that it's weak because I'm not able to compare it with those who just have colds and who didn't get any treatment, or those who have colds but got a different treatment. So there's no basis for comparison. That's why it's a very weak case, because I just showed the treatment, I just explained what the treatment was. That's a very weak one, no? So in this example, new textbook, attitude scale to measure interest will be taken in the end. Another weak one is the one group pre-test, post-test design. So what is this? I test them for cold. I test one person for colds. I do acupuncture as treatment. I test them afterwards if they became better or not. This is a questionable model again, precisely because I'm not able to compare the effect of my treatment with other modalities. And that's the reason why it's, even if it implements a pre-test and post-test design, which is comparable with each other, it's useless because I'm just dealing with one group, no? So, or the static group comparison design. This static group with our two already existing group, and these are sometimes referred to as static groups. And this design is sometimes called non-equivalent control group design because the static groups are static unto itself. And then I do the test on the other one. I check them afterwards in terms of their effect. In this case, I'm comparing two groups. But because they're not randomly selected, it's very weak. No? So for example, here there's a new textbook, and then there's a regular textbook, and then I look at their attitude towards interest in the class. You see, I'm using the intervention is the only thing that's new. The controlled groups, experimental and controlled groups, the indirect groups, independent variable groups, we don't know whether they are random or not. The same is true for the pre-test, post-test. The issue here is randomization. Even if I'm dealing with two groups, even if I'm dealing with pre-test, post-test designs, the problem is there is no assurance that from the very beginning, Group A and Group B are comparable with each other, or that other extraneous variables were in fact muted. Please mute yourselves. Thank you. Now, let's look at true experimental research designs. You see that here, this is a randomized post-test only controlled group design. When we say randomized, the two characteristics of the experimental model are preserved. One, that they are comparable, and two, that manipulations were conducted. In this case, because they're randomized, the treatment group and the controlled group are comparable, and the extraneous variables are reduced. Then the R will reach, the X is the intervention, the new drug, for example. The C is the common treatment. And then in the end, a post-test is conducted to make sure if they are comparable or not. This is a very simple experimental research model. But it's a very important research model because this is the only true experimental research design. So in this case, there are 100 teachers randomly selected. Here, 50 will become the experimental group, 50 will become the controlled group. Here, they will be given sensitivity training workshops. Here, there will be no training workshops. And then at the end, they will be given the same test, faculty morale questionnaire. And then they will be compared whether those who attended the sensitivity training workshops will have a better post-test than the other group. That is how it looks like. The other one is the pre-test, post-test design. This is how it looks like. Again, they are randomized. They're pre-tested first. Again, intervention is done in the experimental group or the treatment group, and then a post-test is again conducted. This is how it looks like. No? So for example, again, 100 teachers randomly selected, 50 will be assigned to the experimental group, 50 will be assigned to the teacher group, and then they will be given the faculty morale questionnaire, both of them, and then scores will be tallied. Treatment sensitivity training workshops will be conducted on the treatment group, and then on the controlled group, no workshop will be conducted. And then in the end, they will be given the same questionnaire. if you notice in the pre-test, post-test design, there are two things you can compare. You can compare the pre-test and the post-test, but you can also compare the post-test from the post-test or the pre-test from the pre-test to make sure or to clarify that any change in them is brought about by the treatment or the intervention that was conducted. Uh, Another and the gold standard of the experimental research design is actually the randomized Solomon 4 group design. You see, now we're comparing the randomized post-test and the pre-test post-test design. If you recognize, this is the randomized post-test design and this is the randomized pre-test post-test design. This is the gold standard for research, which means instead of simply working with 4 groups, you are actually looking at 4 groups and we are looking at a very clear effect on the outcomes that is expected. No, let's look at the examples of here. So hindi man lang kasya sa page kasi ganun siya kalaki. So, here you see 100 teachers, 25 randomized. They were pre-tested. Sensitivity training workshop is given to one, and then post-test is given. On the other 20, on group 3, no post pre-test was given, but the sensitivity workshop is given again on one, and a post-test is given. Here there are many bases for comparison. You can compare all the outcomes. You can compare the pre-test and the outcome, but you will see that if there are significant changes in the scores for those who went through the sensitivity training program, that means that the intervention is effective. Only then can we say that A is effective over B. Only then, okay? So that's also, this is the I randomized Solomon for group design, which, as I said, is the golden standard for research, experimental research. Victor Wallen and Frankel and Wallen will also speak of the randomized post-test only control group design or the randomized pre-test post-test group using matched subjects. Matched subjects means all the variables were reduced so that they're really exactly the same. In the other one, here, it's purely random, no? And the randomization becomes the justification for comparison. Because if it's random, that only means everybody was given the equal opportunity to be chosen. But here in the match design, they were really selected for that purpose. That's the only difference here. Kasi napili sila specifically. And there are two types of matching that is involved, mechanical and statistical. I'll not talk about this anymore because the most important thing is actually the randomized Solomon 4 group design. And if you notice the Solomon 4 group design, this is a combination of the pre-test, post-test control group design and the post-test control group design. Yun lang naman ang mahalagang kailangan alam nyo. In general, I have spent a long number of years reading research. And I will be honest that I've only seen experimental research designs conducted in health matters, especially when there's a new treatment protocol that's being pushed forward. Laging ganun lang pag may bagong treatment protocol. Other than that, we don't actually use the experimental research. Actually, you can use it for interventions if you want to test whether this is more effective than this. As long as you use the term more effective than this, then you have to use a experimental research design. Other than that, actually, hindi kailangan. Uh, there are also quasi-experimental research designs. But if you've already understood the true experimental research design, there's no need for you to understand already these, except if you really want to pursue uh, a research design that uses this. Now, we need to take note also that there are internal validity threats that we have to consider in a research design. Uh, and internal validity is important because if you do not consider this, there might be differences in the outcome. And interestingly, the differences might not be a consequence of the study, but of something else. Why am I saying this to you? I'm saying this to you because you might think that A is the cost of C or D, when in fact it's just a matter of differences. Like for example, subject characteristics, right? The teacher in the first class is an old woman who's always angry, whereas the teacher in the other section is a very young person who's very jolly and the like. Subject characteristics. Or mortality in an experimental research, if one respondent died or moved to another place, relocated, you cannot do anything. The study is a failure. So for example, a student said, "Sir, I'm gonna migrate already to the United States. Thank you for adding me in the study." That alone, no, attrition or mortality renders the entire study useless. You cannot also force the student to stay behind. No, you cannot do that. Um, and there are more variables to be taken into consideration, no? Like for example, testing, how was the test conducted, maturation, maybe for because you're doing sputum test, for example, or urine test, to 100 teachers, there's already a difference between the urine test number 1 and urine test 100, no? Because of time, no? So maturation. Those are things that you need to take attention to. There's an entire chapter on internal validity in this textbook. Okay? Uh, Now, a note on placebo. Now, placebo is when you do not do anything. No? Uh, in medicine, this is not allowed. No? In medicine, you cannot not treat, which means if they're both HIV patients, you cannot give medications to the other HIV patients. No, you cannot do that. Uh, in 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 research, in health research, you need to give the traditional treatment to the other patient that you're not experimenting on. No? So you cannot not do that. Okay, you cannot not treat. Okay. Uh, So, so he gives you examples what to do in the advent that you have the tests. But that's it, technically, no? So here is an example of an experimental research design. Uh, but as I said, no, so here this is a suggestion how manipulatives affect the mathematics achievement of students in Nigerian school. In my, excuse me, in my life of accompanying researchers, I have not seen a complete experimental research design conducted in schools. This is a very rare, very difficult process to implement. And I'm already telling you just in case you want to do it. But you can read uh, and see also their comment, how they analyze the data. That's also important. Okay? Any questions on experimental research design? So here, experimental research is unique. in that it is the only type of research that directly attempts to influence a particular variable directly. It is only type that when used properly can really test hypotheses about cause and effect. Experimental design are some of the strongest available for any researcher for that matter. No? Any researcher. So experimental differ in two ways. One, there is comparison of treatments. There's always a comparison that's going on. And two, direct manipulation is visible. Third, randomization. Random assignment is an important ingredient in the best kinds of experiments. It means that every individual who's participating in the experiment has an equal chance of being assigned to any of the experimental or controlled conditions that are being compared. Control, the researcher in an experimental study has an opportunity to exercise far more control than in most other forms of research. Remember, I told you experimental research and quantitative research can do two things, control and prediction. And both of these, control and prediction, can be found in experimental researches. That's why it's the gold standard, as I said. Some of the most common ways to control for the possibility of differential subject characteristics are randomization, the holding of certain variables constant, building the variable into the design, matching, using subjects as their own controls, and using analysis of the covariance. So those are very important things to consider. We spoke about explore experimental designs. We said there are 3 weak designs. They are called the one-shot case study because it's just a case study. The one group pretest post-test design because it's not compared to anything else. And the static group comparison design. They're considered weak because they do not have built-in controls for internal validity threats. So in the one shot case study, this is a single group exposed to treatment and its effects are reported or assessed. If in the one group pre-test post-test design is a single group measured and observed both before and after exposure to a treatment. In the static group comparison design, 2 intact groups receive different treatments. So, but intact. So how is that different from the true experimental research design? One is the random assignment of subjects. So the randomized post-test only control group involves 2 groups formed by random assignment. The randomized pre-test post-test group design differs from the randomized post-test control only if used in the use of pre-test. Parehas talaga sila except for the pre-test. And the randomized Solomon 4 group design involves random assignment of subjects to 4 groups with 2 being pre-tested and 2 not. Okay? And then in terms of matching, we've already explained this one a while ago. Matching, quasi-experimental, and factorial analysis are actually further developments of the of the experimental research design that you have to pay attention to. Take note of the key terms for experimental research design. Time series design is factorial analysis actually. But that I didn't talk about, but you can find it in the latter part of the chapter. There. There are supposedly notes for discussion, but I'll spare you of that. We can look at in advance about 2 more things, but I will not talk about this one. But single subject research is the case study equivalent in quantitative research. That means you can study one person only, but the study of one person should be very, very appropriate. No, that's the single subject research design. Again, the book guides you into how to conduct it, but I will not talk about it already because if you will do case study, why do quali? Why not quanti? You move to quanti precisely for case study because quali provides you with a general picture. quanti provides you with the, quali provides you with the nuances, the differences. And if you're interested with a single subject, it needs to be quali. I think better in quali than in quanti. Okay? Uh, we will look at correlation next meeting. Allow me to stop my recording.